Well, I want to admit something to you that maybe some people won't admit, but I will. I happen to be a member of the Die Hard Cubs fan club. And I have been a member since, well, the 1970s when I used to watch them on WGN TV out of Chicago back in the days when GN carried the Cubs. You could see them on the cable television that Canterbury Green had back in those days. That was the one thing to watch. I got to watch Kerry Wood pitch one of the greatest games I've ever seen. Saw it on GN. Well, as time went on, I followed the Cubs, and like many people do, and their teams are either good or lousy, or sort of good or sort of lousy, kind of dependent. But they had great players. I mean, players that I remember. You know, the Ryan Sandbergs and well, there's so many I can't think of all the names of the great players they had. And you know what? It was like a cavalcade of watching great Jody Davis. I mean, great players watched over the years. I've been to the Cubs games many times, taken my children up there to see the Cubs. Actually saw Ozzy Osbourne sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," which that was something to see. But all in all, one of the greatest players the Chicago Cubs ever had was Sammy Souza. That's right, Sammy Souza. Whenever the Cubs took the field, he would run from the dugout out to right field. I mean, he would bolt out there. That was his signature. Fans loved it. Shown on TV, Sammy Souza running out to right field. That was his way of saying, "Here I am." Well, he was a great hitter. But there was a period of time that he was a really great hitter, and that came after the baseball strike of 1994 and 1995. Eighth longest ever, started in August, and it was long. It was 200 and some days, and maybe longer than that. Ended up in August the 12th of 1994 or 1995 when they finally finished the strike. So started in 94, ended in 95, had to do with players and agreements and pay. It's not about money. Frankly, it's about money, folks. And right after that, fans were not very happy with baseball. They hated what was going on. They thought the players were greedy. The owners were greedy. Baseball was in trouble, folks. Nobody was sure baseball would even survive. And then, well, what happened was a barrage of hitting started to happen. And not just hitting, home runs. A lot of home runs. Fell out of St. Louis by the name of Mark McGuire. He started belting home runs, and then this little guy out of Chicago, Sammy Souza, started blasting him himself. Souza ended up with something like 545 home runs, most in the Cubs' history. 545. He had 4 straight years of hitting 50 plus, 3 of 60 plus. And this was back in the steroid era. Now, let's be honest, folks. Players were taking steroids. They were getting juiced. And there's players who admitted it later on in life. Players just said, hey, you did what you did. Now, did baseball know what was going on? In my humble opinion, yes, they did. But it was the one thing that brought baseball back. People actually wanted to go to attend the games and see the guys jack home runs. Everybody knew they were on the roids, but it was something fun to watch. So baseball, the management, the commissioner looked the other way because it was putting cheeks in the seats, and that's what baseball needed. And yes, Sammy Souza was, in my humble opinion, one of the people doing roids. He got caught with cork in his bat. He got caught doing some things. And the whole time and asked about steroids, no, I take my little Flintstones vitamins. That's kind of what he said. But everybody knew. Well, 21 years ago, back in 2004, well, that's when Sammy left. 21 years. Well, recently he came back to Chicago. Long time. Many, many years. And the fans welcomed him with open arms. And Sammy, he was pretty thrilled. He was amazed that people cared that much. Yes, Wrigley Field has changed from those days. From me being back there watching Jody Davis and Andre Dawson and Ryan Sandberg, all those people, yeah, it's changed. The makeup of the stadium's changed. The big jumbotrons on the outfield, it's changed a lot. But Sammy stood there, and the fans went crazy. I mean, many of those fans were probably not even around when Sammy played. but they knew who he was. They knew who Sammy Souza was. So he was welcomed back to the stadium, even though the Cubs lost the first game of the particular series they were playing. They got beat. Doesn't matter. The people there watching it got to see history. Sammy Souza returned to Wrigley Field after 21 years and still looked pretty good. Still was happy. Still happy to be there. But he brought reminiscence back to the fans, back to old-time player or old-time fans like me who remember watching Sammy Jackham hitting that ball and, man, running out to that field. That was what baseball was. Today, maybe not so much. Today, America likes football better than baseball. Baseball used to be the nation's all-time passport. That was what America enjoyed. But times change. Things have now gone to football. And I'll tell you something else, folks. Before you knew it, football will not be America's sport. It'll be soccer, or as they call it in Europe, football. It's coming whether you like it or not. You can see it happening, and having the World Cup here in the United States, I guarantee you is going to put more interest than you could possibly imagine. But for a long time, we Cubs fans, we diehard Cubs fans, got to enjoy one of the greatest hitters that we've ever seen, at least at Wrigley Field, the return of Sammy Souza. And it couldn't have been a better day to see him.